Hi there, KOIN 6 Chief Meteorologist Josh Cozart here as a KOIN 6 weather alert remains in place for the extreme heat. Portland hitting 100 degrees and above for the first time so far this summer season, and things are only expected to get hotter from here as we dive our way deeper into the weekend. So we've got a lot to unpack here as these above average temperatures continue to take aim at much of the Pacific Northwest and much of the western half of the country as we bake under the summer sunshine. You can see it below me, but also just to the right of me as well, picking up on those sunny conditions earlier today as we are under that KOIN 6 weather alert. Today, day one of a multi-day event carrying us all the way into Tuesday of next week. So this is going to be our longest stretch of high heat, where our temperatures could warm back up into the mid to upper 90s to 103 as this weather alert remains in place, and very little relief from the heat is also expected during this time. A live look at our temperature that has now fallen out towards PDX below the century mark at 99 degrees. It looks just hot, though, across the board, especially out towards the Canby area. I love the pop of color from the dahlia flowers that are soaking up this summer's sunshine. And Seaside, of course, preparing for the last leg and the end of the Hood to Coast finale as we work our way into Saturday and Sunday. And, of course, beautiful views up in elevation as the snow quickly melts off of Mount Hood. Now, a lot of folks have been saying on social media to me, hey, Josh, it's August. It's supposed to be hot. Yes, but keep in mind, these temperatures that we are experiencing are nearly 10 to 15, in some cases today and tomorrow, 20 degrees above where we should be for this time of year. 82 is where that temperature should be sitting here in the Portland-Vancouver metro area for August 22nd. So today, the first day we have hit officially the triple-digit mark. You may remember it was just about a week or so ago where we experienced 99 degrees, 3 consecutive days of it, but we were just shy of hitting the century mark out at the airport. So it doesn't become official until we actually hit 100 degrees here in Portland. But the last time we saw temperatures this hot, that was back on September 5th of 2024. So the heat definitely here in full force for us, and our first taste of it in quite some time. 101, that is our preliminary afternoon high temperature for us here in the Rose City. We'll get kind of the final numbers closer to 11 o'clock tonight or so. Of course, it comes as no surprise. Smashing the old record of 98 degrees last set back in 1942. These hot temperatures likely going to be breaking more records as we move our way into Saturday and eventually into Sunday, maybe even Monday as well, before those temperatures slowly start to backtrack a little bit. All right, here's a look at those current temperatures. Beaverton still at 100 degrees for us. Bethany, Hillsboro, just a degree shy of the century mark, just the same with PDX. And we're also feeling slightly cooler in places like Washougal at 90 degrees. So take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, 90 degrees. Not very often that we actually get to say that's a cool down for us, as the state capital still is hovering right at 100 degrees after our daytime highs managed to push up into the low 80s for us in places like Astoria. 78 degrees. That is a welcome size. We cool things down along the shoreline. But just to give you a bit of perspective, we really have seen this sudden blast of high heat. Up 12 degrees for us here in the Rose City over the past 24 hours. Yesterday was warm, but not necessarily as warm as what we are currently feeling here across much of the I-5 corridor, and just a couple of degrees warmer as we're actually cooler out towards the east right now as opposed to what we were experiencing through the I-5 corridor. But we are picking up on some reduction in the air quality, falling back to about a moderate level for us out towards Salem. That potential likely becoming a little bit more widespread. You can see parts of Deschutes County at the unhealthy category as that brand new flat fire is currently burning. You can read more about that fire right now at KOIN.com. We got all the information and evacuations as well. But overall, our air quality likely going to be downgraded as we work our way through the next several days. One in part is because of the high heat. So we'll go ahead and just take this full so you can get a better picture. So it's the ozone that is going to be playing a role in reducing our air quality. Now, this is different than the air zone that a lot of us were talking about in the 80s and 90s with hairspray and it weakening the ozone, and we don't want that. We want a good ozone up in the stratosphere. So that's that orange line. That helps to block the harmful sun rays from the sun itself and protects us. We don't want to weaken that, and that's what those hairsprays were doing back then. But right now, what we are experiencing is the bad ozone. It's near the surface, and that is mixing with the pollutant particulates from our vehicles, from lawnmowers. It's that chemical reaction between those particulates and the high heat, in addition to some wildfire smoke that's going to be moving into our area, that just kind of creates the perfect storm to really reduce the quality of our air. As the surface smoke really kind of demonstrates moving our way into Saturday afternoon, you can see all of that western fires that are burning in places like Idaho and even in eastern Oregon, Washington, kind of pushing its way back into the I-5 corridor. So that's why we're seeing the reduction in the air quality before we start to see some improvements. That's why the National Weather Service issuing that air quality advisory goes into effect on Saturday at 10 a.m., takes us all the way through 8 p.m. on Monday. So the thing to kind of tell you this weekend is maybe just stay indoors in the AC, avoid the heat, avoid the poor air quality, because this could be harmful to some sensitive groups. And it's a tale of two forecasts for us here across the country. Above average temperatures over the next 6 to 10 days for us out towards the Pacific Northwest, much of the western half of the country, to be quite frank. But then out towards the Central Plains, our friends out towards the east, they are feeling those autumn-like conditions. So we can be a little envious of them, as all of us are just 1 month away from entering into the start of the autumn season. Now, if you're like me and maybe celebrate autumn on the first day of September, the start of meteorological fall, then you got about a week and a half or so. But again, officially the astronomical autumnal equinox, that's not until September 22nd. So 31 days still to go. And I think a lot of us are probably wanting to count down those days as this ridge of high pressure just remains in place. This is the culprit for the high heat. Now, we have a bit of an omega blocking pattern set up. So that's where you see those two low pressure systems on either side of the Pacific Northwest with the high situated in the middle. That creates that omega-like symbol, but it blocks anything from moving its way from the west to the east, like what we typically see. So that's why this ridge of high pressure is just going to be sitting overhead with a clockwise rotation. It's grabbing all of that desert southwest heat and funneling it right back into western Oregon and southwest Washington. Now, as we push our way into Saturday and Sunday, it still remains in place. Very little movement. You can see the trough of cooler air with that low pressure system over the Great Lakes area. That's helping to cool them down and make them feel like the autumn season. But you'll notice that we start to see some of those oranges start to drift away from western Oregon, southwest Washington. That's going to be our cooling mechanism. Still above average, still in the 90s, still in the mid to upper 80s for us, but it's in the direction we want to see a cooling trend by the middle and end of next week, as our average daytime high temperature is right around 82 degrees. Now, we are expecting to see those temperatures still record-breaking for Saturday, Sunday, potentially into Monday as well, maybe tying a record last set back in 2016. And then Tuesday, that's when we kind of start to shake ourselves free of the potential of actually seeing the high heat once again return. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We just got to pack our patience and wait. And of course, it's Tuesday. That's the final day that we see the KOIN 6 weather alert and those heat advisories finally come to an end for us. So we just got to make it to the middle of next week. Now, the double-edged sword with all of this is our overnight lows aren't falling very low at all. Expected to still sit in the mid to upper 60s for much of the valley locations, maybe even not falling below the 70s. So that is also helping to prompt this mosaic of colors really across our area from the National Weather Service. Extreme heat warnings, that's in the purpley pink color. The heat advisories, that's in the orange. Basically, it just means that action needs to be taken. These are some new terms that the National Weather Service has given us, not necessarily to scare us, but just to inform us and know exactly how we need to react to these types of warnings and advisories. With very low relief from the heat and extreme heat during the afternoon hours, that means that you need to be doing all of the things that we've already been practicing all summer long, taking the breaks indoors, finding the shade, finding the cooling centers, staying hydrated. Those are all going to be a must over the next week or so, as those temperatures for the greater Portland, Vancouver area still expected to climb up to about 97, 103 degrees. That's a potential with overnight lows again in the 60s and 70s for us. Now, you might be scratching your head, okay, when should we actually be typically done with the 100-degree heat? Well, that has already come and passed. It's typically right around July 31st. That's when we usually kind of say goodbye to the 100s. But you'll remember last year was the first week of September. We were still feeling 102 back on the 5th of 2024. So it is a potential for it to go a little bit later into the season. Now, as far as the 90-degree heat goes, that's when we typically start to see that fade by September 6th or so. And keep in mind, September is kind of a rapid cooling month for us here. I personally think it's one of my favorite months temperature-wise because it just really feels so nice out there. And then you get the nice pop of color in the fall trees. And can you tell that I'm ready for fall? I think a lot of us probably are as well. But then we typically kind of lose sight of those 80s by the end of September as well. So again, that just kind of goes to show you how rapidly we cool things. So let's take you through the futurecast. This looks a little aggressive on the cloud side, if anything. It's our weather models picking up more so on the wildfire smoke that's going to be moving into our area, the heat, the haze, the pollutants that's going to be trapped. So if anything, I think it's going to be one of those kind of high, thin cirrus clouds that filter out maybe just a little bit of the sunshine. We wish it would be filtering out more to help keep us cooler, but it's still going to be hot and it's still going to be sunny. No moisture is expected. This carries us into Sunday. It's a rinse and repeat scenario. You can see maybe some of that moisture. Again, I don't think any of that is actually going to be happening. I think that model is a little excited for the potential of maybe a few high, thin clouds. But overall tonight, definitely staying on the mild side. 67 is where we fall to. Northwest winds at about 3 to 6. Tomorrow, the weather alert still remains in place along with the excessive heat warnings. 102 is the forecasted high that I have running. And, today we hit it on the perfect dot. 101 is what we were forecasting here in the KOIN 6 Weather Department. 101, that is our high for today. I know a lot of fun activities, kind of the last hurrah of summer as Mother Nature's kind of playing into that as well. The Oregon State Fair underway today, again tomorrow. Still expecting to see those temperatures into the triple digits. As hood to coast for Saturday, well, a lot of people are going to be taking off from Portland, 102 in the afternoon. So the good news is you'll kind of move up in elevation a little bit over the coast range. Still likely going to be in the 90s, close to 100 degrees before we round out towards Seaside, the end of the trek by about Sunday. Still expecting those mid-70s for us as we really kind of push our way through the next week or so. And our 7-day forecast, you can see that the high heat, it is here to stay for us. 102 for Saturday. Sunday, expecting still temperatures close to the triple-digit mark at 99. And then as we work our way into the final day of summer vacation for the kids on Monday, 95, that expected high. Mid-90s still going for Tuesday before we gradually start to cool things back. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We all need to do our due diligence, check on our neighbors, check on those who do not have efficient means of staying cool, helping folks out, maybe finding those cooling centers. We have all of that information right now at KOIN.com because this is the longest, hottest stretch of weather we have felt so far this summer season. Nothing to take lightly. Yes, it's summer. Yes, we know it gets hot here in the Pacific Northwest, but with conditions like this, we need to take a little extra caution and care for the people that live in our community to make sure that we are all staying safe through this round of high heat. So that's going to do it for this KOIN Now special edition. Our latest newscast on CBS, that's going to be live right around 8 o'clock or so after the NFL pre-show games and all that start to wrap up. You can also check out the reruns of our newscasts and live newscasts along with the clips for your on-demand choice of news stories that you want to watch right now at KOIN Plus. That is our streaming app both on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. So we hope that you download that on all of your streaming services and TVs and other devices to get you up to date as the high heat still remains. So stay cool and enjoy this last hurrah of summer heat before the kiddos head back to school in Portland on Tuesday. Have a good weekend.